So there's a piece by Terry Jones in Investors Business Daily. The left's lies about U.S. poverty exposed. So the left uses poverty in order to grow government, and the pseudo-right uses poverty in order to attack the left and more grow government. Each year, the U.S. Census Bureau releases its data on poverty, and each year the news seems even worse than the year before. This year's no different, with Census informing us in its annual report that some 43.1 million Americans, or about 13.5%, are officially poor in 2015. The number of poor fell during the years. The nation continued to climb out of an economic crater left by the economy's financial implosion in 2008 and 2009, writes Terry Jones, but still, 1 of 7 of us were officially deemed poor. Could that be right? 1 in 7 Americans? To start with, yes, we should all feel sympathy for those less well off and do what we can to give them a leg up. That said, the poverty report isn't what it seems. As Heritage Foundation poverty expert Robert Rector and Rebecca Sheffield write, they note that contrary to the rhetoric of the left and the misleading data from the government, the 43 million people in poverty is vastly exaggerated. I know this is not PC, but let's hit it. They cite 15 facts about poverty that most Americans don't know. Here's a few. For every $1 in income reported by the census, poor households spend $2.40. That means they're getting heavy subsidies. Most poor people live in adequate housing. Not only is it in good shape, but the average poor household has more square footage than the average non-poor home in Europe. The left likes to compare things to Europe, except when it comes to this. 85% of the poor have air conditioning. Nearly 3/4 own a car or a truck, and 31% have more than one. 2/3 of the poor have cable or satellite TV. Half have a personal computer, and 43% have internet. 2/3 own a DVD player. More than half of poor families with kids own a video game system. 1/3 have a big screen plasma or an LCD TV. By the way, the data on electrical appliances comes from a 2009 survey, so the percentages are quite likely even higher. Okay, but what about things like hunger? Hasn't that come back with a vengeance? In a word, no. 4% of poor parents report that their children were hungry once in the previous year because they lacked the means to buy food. 18% of poor adults reported hunger in the previous year due to lack of money. 4% of poor people became homeless in any year, and usually it's temporary. Left-leaning groups often claim that 1 in 25 families with kids live in extreme poverty of less than $2 a day. Actually, based on actual spending, the share is 1 in 4,469. And the typical family in extreme poverty tells surveys that they spend $25 for every $1 in income the left claims they have, again, due to welfare and so forth. Rector and Sheffield note most measures of poverty do not take into account government welfare and aid of different types. They basically ignore the existence of a massive, quite generous welfare state. And they note, in 2014, the government laid out some $1 trillion on means-tested welfare for the poor. And no, that doesn't include Social Security or Medicare. Welfare outlays for cash, food, and housing totaled some $342 billion. All told, that spending is enough to push all the poor to about 150% of the poverty level. There is, in fact, very little actual poverty in America, he writes, thanks to this generous welfare system. The main thing, the authors suggest, is to stop giving money to people and to do something to help them up and out of the welfare system, which at times can be a trap, and get them into it. Yet the left uses the poverty data as a bludgeon to boost their pro-union, anti-capitalist agenda, and to foist new taxes on gullible middle-income Americans who are made to feel guilty for the poor. Not only that, made to feel guilty for themselves. I just had a child. I can't get a job. Excuse me? Do you think the world began today? Do you think we all fell off the tuna boat? Just incredible.